Minister of Labour Chris Ngige confirms junior officers already receiving a 30,000 naira minimum wage. Thunder strikes dead 36 cows in Ondo Community's Sacred Grove. Trump's call with Ukrainian president raises concerns of foreign interference. And the sport, 50 runners sign up for maiden edition of Onitsha City Marathon.
This is ANN News.
That's Minister of Labour Dr. Chris Ngige has confirmed that junior workers in Federal Civil Service have begun receiving the 30,000 naira new minimum wage. Ngige announced this in Enugu over the weekend. He said payments of the new minimum wage to levels 1 to 6 began last month. National President of the Nigeria Civil Service Union and a member of the Joint Public Service Negotiating Council, Lawrence Amechi, confirmed the minister's announcement. The owed minimum wage carries a 12,000 naira increase from the owed. Lawrence says the only outstanding issue is the continuing negotiation on grades 7 to 17, the executive levels, which would require a substantial adjustment. Lawrence says the government will pay junior workers arrears on the new minimum wage this month. And I'm sure the workers are happy. A rescheduled meeting took place today in Abuja between the leadership of the House of Representatives and Nigeria's security chiefs to deliberate on the security situation in the country. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila said the meeting was to look at possible ways in which the parliament could intervene to find lasting solutions to the security issues plaguing the nation. Gbajabiamila admitted security agents have recorded some giant strides which are now being eroded as a result of increasing waves of terrorism and other criminal acts. Chief of Defense Staff General Abayomi Olonishakin says absence at last Friday's meeting not meant to disparage the parliament. He says appreciable progress has been made in the last 4 years and that the armed forces will continue to strategize for an end to terrorism and insurgency, particularly in the northeast. The meeting was held behind closed doors. Professor Wale Soyinka says the Buhari administration has attained a quote unprecedented level of paranoia. Thus, he attributes to charges of treason filed against journalist Omoyele Sowore. Sowore faces 7 counts of treasonable felony and money laundering. Professor Soyinka said in a statement over the weekend that the nation has failed to learn from past experiences. He says the development is an utterly depressing news. The Nobel laureate says the Sowore saga has moved beyond harassment and has taken on a sinister direction. He expressed doubts that even the Justice Ministry believes in what it calls improbable charges. Soyinka ended his statement with the words, "Welcome to the club, Mr. Omoyele Sowore." National leader of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has dispelled rumors that there was a rift between him and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The rumors even credited him with working against an Osinbajo candidacy for the presidency in 2023. Reports say the president met recently with Tinubu and Chief Bisi Akode, APC's former interim national chairman. The report said the president had complained about the vice president and wanted the two party leaders to get him to resign his cabinet appointment. Tinubu spokesperson Tunde Rahman said there was no rift between his principal and the vice president. He said there was no truth to the story that Tinubu was against the vice president. He also said there is nothing stopping the vice president from developing a presidential ambition. Rahman said, quote, "Tinubu cannot muzzle his own boy in any way," end quote. It was a bloody weekend in Shaforo and Kudumtu communities in Numan local government area of Adamawa State. Gunmen killed 2 persons in an early morning attack. Many in the community said they were herdsmen, but the police said they were cattle rustlers. At least 6 persons were said to have been wounded, including one of the military personnel who took on the herders in a gun battle. Numan has a long history of confrontation with herdsmen and armed persons. Many lives have been lost and properties destroyed. Well, it has always been said that one should not defy ancient deities or defile their grounds. Apparently, that was what took place at Ijore community in a federal local government area of Ondo State over the weekend. Fulani herdsmen were said to have moved 3 dozen cows into the community's sacred grove, located at the town's mountain top. Then it happened as they grazed on the sacred land. Thunder roared and lightning struck the 36 cows to death, scattering them all over the mountain. Locals described the incident as the wrath of their gods on the herdsmen whom they say had desecrated the sacred grove. It is forbidden for anyone except the king to go on those grounds. Confirming the incident, the Ondo State Police Command Public Relations Officer Femi Joseph described this as a natural disaster, saying there is nothing anyone can do about it. But one of the traditional chiefs in the town says the cows were killed because they were taken to a traditional no-go area.
Coming up, African news. Protests and clashes rock Egypt for second day. And later, world news. Trump confesses he discussed bidding with Ukrainian presidents.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. Protesters in Egypt took to the streets over the weekend in rare demonstrations against President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. At least 200 demonstrators took march in Suez port city demanding al-Sisi's resignation. Police responded with tear gas and dozens were reportedly arrested. The protest also took place in Tahrir Square in Cairo on Friday in response to corruption allegations against the government. Protests have been extremely rare in Egypt since President al-Sisi took power in 2014. But anger has spread since an Egyptian businessman and actor, Muhammad Ali, posted a series of videos online accusing the country's leader of wasting millions of luxury residences and hotels while millions of Egyptians lived in poverty. Hundreds filled the streets for 2 days over the weekend for the president's resignation. Demonstrations also took place at other locations around the country. Although there is no official confirmation, French news agency reported at least 74 persons were arrested. A collapsed classroom building in Kenya has killed at least 7 children in the capital, Nairobi, and injured dozens early on Monday morning. Kenya government spokesman Cyrus Oguna says 57 students have been taken to hospital for treatment. Local television showed Red Cross workers shifting through the wreckage at Precious Talent schools. 800 pupils are reported missing after the incident, as only 20 could be accounted for in an emergency roll call. School authorities said most pupils had run into the neighborhood of Dagoretti after the collapse. School manager Moses Wainana Indiwongo told a local television station that the structure had been weakened by the construction of a nearby sewer. An unknown number of pupils is reported still trapped in one of the classrooms. Still in Kenya, where grade 3 students have begun a month-long assessment exercise based on the new education curriculum. The competency-based curriculum, which seeks to replace the old 844 system that has been in place for 32 years. The government says the new system will focus more on the child's abilities and less on exams, as it seeks to prepare students for an ever-changing dynamic jobs market. Robert Nagila has more.
At this public primary school in Nairobi, these grade 3 students are sitting for their first ever national assessment tests under the hawk-eyed supervision of their teacher. She is clear it is not an exam but an assessment of the child's abilities.
Can the child communicate? And how can the child communicate? Can the child be able to work with others? Can the child be imaginative? How can the child behave towards a certain situation?
The assessment is based on a new education system, the competency-based curriculum, which will see children attend 2 years of pre-primary, 6 years of primary school, 6 years of secondary school, and 3 years in an institution of higher learning. The new system is based on identifying foundation skills which can be nurtured. It replaces what was known as the 844 system, where children attended primary school for 8 years, spent 4 years in secondary school, and another 4 years in university.
The old curriculum, which is 844, is exam-oriented, while the new curriculum, which is the CBC, is child-oriented.
There has been some confusion over the grade 3 assessment, with many questioning the wisdom of putting grade 3 students through national exams. The government, however, says no individual results will be provided, neither will there be report cards or ranking of schools, as is the case in national exams.
The core competencies that we are infusing in the learning areas, that is what we want to see. How this child has progressed. Is the child still the same from the time joined the school, or has changed?
The idea being to monitor the quality of education, gather information on learning achievements, and provide support for teachers and inform education policy and planning. On this, the first day of the assessment, the third graders tackled a mathematics activity assessment meant to gauge them on problem solving, creativity, and digital literacy skills using numbers, measurements, and geometry. The pupils will also be tested on English language activities and integrated learning areas, with the entire exercise expected to last until the end of September. At the end of the exercise, data from all primary schools will be collated and a comprehensive report on the competency-based curriculum prepared for the government on its successes and failures.
When we return, international news. Trump's call with Ukrainian president raises concerns of foreign interference. And later, sport. 50 runners sign up for maiden edition of Onitsha City Marathon.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump has admitted he discussed former Vice President Joe Biden and his son in a July phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump has been accused of putting pressure on Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden, his potential 2020 rival. A senior Democrat, Adam Schiff, says Trump may have crossed the line. It was revealed in U.S. media that an intelligence whistleblower had filed a complaint over Trump communications with a foreign leader and that he had made a promise that could be out of line. This added fuel to the fire in the latest Trump face-off with House that has been considering impeaching him. Trump supporters say there is so far no evidence that he offered a quid pro quo to the Ukrainians. Biden is front-runner in the Democratic presidential nomination process, and damaging information could hurt his candidacy. The ongoing 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York City has brought face-to-face U.S. and Iranian leaders. Each leader will put forward to the UN General Assembly this week competing visions of security in the Middle East. On Sunday, Trump once again left open the possibility of an unscheduled meeting with Rouhani on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani, on his part, says he will present a plan for Gulf security. World leaders are gathered in New York for the annual General Assembly Summit this week at a time of deep discord. There will be rival delegations from Venezuela, each backed by different prominent members of the UN Security Council, which is also split over the conflicts in Syria and Yemen. French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian says discussions at the General Assembly will reveal whether it is possible to continue on the path of de-escalation with Iran. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has revealed the country will consider taking part in a US-led military effort to bolster Saudi Arabia's defenses. Johnson insists Tehran was behind the recent attacks on two major oil facilities in the Saudi kingdom. The UK had previously held back from attributing blame for the attacks. The United States and Saudi Arabia do not believe the Houthis' claim of responsibility for the attack. The Pentagon announced on Friday it would send additional U.S. troops and missile defense equipment to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates as part of a defensive deployment. Officials said the number of troops was likely to be in the hundreds. Iran's president called on Western powers to leave the security of the Persian Gulf to regional nations led by Tehran. Hong Kong streets are back to normalcy after another weekend of violent protests that saw activists and protesters vandalize a railway station and a shopping mall. 50 persons were arrested over the weekend, bringing the total number of arrests in the protests since June to 1,500. The Hong Kong government has started peace moves among community members. The government has also called off a big fireworks display that would have marked the country's 70th National Day next week. It says there could be further clashes on that day. The former British colony also marks the 5th anniversary this weekend of the start of the Umbrella Protest, a series of pro-democracy demonstrations in 2014 that failed to wrest the concessions from Beijing. Hundreds of thousands of travelers were in limbo around the globe on Monday after British travel firm Thomas Cook collapsed. It was one of the world's oldest travel firms. British Civil Aviation Authority confirmed it is mobilizing a fleet of aircraft from around the world to bring more than 150,000 travelers stranded abroad. Transport Minister Grant Shapps tweeted that the company's collapse has led to the biggest peacetime repatriation in UK history. The Civil Aviation Authority says the first repatriation flight has led to John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York and was headed for the English city of Manchester with more than 300 passengers on board. Thomas Cook operated hotels, resorts and airlines for 19 million persons in 16 countries every year. It also had 21,000 employees. Hundreds of stranded passengers have taken to social media to share their anger and disappointment.
Up next, sports. 50 runners show interest in Onitsha City Marathon.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, the Golden Eaglets began their UEFA Under-17 International Tournament campaign with a 2-0 victory over host Turkey. Olakunle Olusegun and Divine Nwachukwu sealed the win in the 90th minute for the 5-time world champions. Nigeria's Under-17 side will battle Guatemala in their next game on Tuesday before wrapping up their group games against Senegal on Thursday. The 8 participating teams at the UEFA CAF Under-17 International Tournament are host Turkey, Nigeria, Scotland, Angola, Cameroon, Senegal, Paraguay, and Guatemala. 50 runners have shown interest in the maiden Onitsha City Marathon event slated for early next month in Anambra State. Head of Media and Publicity Philip Balekwo says most of the athletes are foreign-based but managed by Nigerians. Balekwo says elite athletes from Kenya, Cameroon, Ghana, and Uganda have also registered for the 21-kilometer event and are expected to arrive in Nigeria soon. Balekwo describes the event as the first international marathon southeast of Nigeria. It says the event would help place Onitsha in the world map of sporting events. That is any news this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.